Hey, this is Josh for Retooled.net, and in this video we're going to do a really quick preview of the features coming to the new version of Premiere Pro that was announced in April of 2015. Now, I say a quick version because we're not going to do our usual deep dive into the features. That's going to come a little bit later in time, but for now I'm going to give you a quick preview of these features just so you can see some of the cool stuff that you guys will be able to play with soon. So let's get started. The first thing I want to talk about is the most obvious change to the user interface here, and that is this bar up top. And that's the Workspaces bar. That bar is something where you can quickly toggle between your favorite workspaces. Now, if you don't like this, you can get rid of it just like any other panel you could in Premiere. But the first thing I want to click on to show you is this one, this new Color Workspace. And you'll notice right away there's this new Lumetri color bar right on the side. So I want to show you a little bit more about that, and it's probably the biggest change coming to this version of Premiere Pro. If I click on Basic Correction, people who are used to Lightroom are going to instantly notice something that looks very familiar to them. And what it is the Premiere Pro team has borrowed a lot of things from the Lightroom interface. So if I click and I start playing here, you'll notice I can start adjusting this clip. I'm just going to mark the in and out on the clip just so it'll loop, and all of a sudden you can see I have this exposure slider, contrast. I could say bring down the highlights, bring up the shadows, and then maybe take the whites up a hair, the black levels down a hair, and I could come into the creative panel. I have a whole nother set of controls there. I'm going to bring up my vibrance, and in the curves panel I'm going to create a basic S curve to add a little more contrast. Now obviously this is a bit redundant. There's a bunch of different ways to do things, but I'm just showing you how it is. And let's go into the shot and bring out some of the warmth in it. So I'm going to bring out this area right here, but not change everything. So not necessarily change the sky. I'm just going to add more, you'll notice, to the yellow and red area here. Maybe I'll take it out into the reds a little more and keep everything else where it was. And then if you come into the color wheels, I have a traditional three-way color correct, so I could bring down the black level, bring up the highlights, change the gamma or midtone level here. I can add tints, and obviously there are a lot of sort of redundant controls here. You don't have to use all of these to do this. I'm going to come into vignette, and I'm going to add a vignette to the clip, and I'm going to feather it out a little more so it's a bit more subtle. And there you go. So I quickly was able to come in, and if I look at the effects control, you can see here's my before and there's my after. So it's very dramatic, very quickly, and this is based on being able to do things really quickly like this. Whether you're an editor or an experienced colorist, there's a lot of control in here. Another welcome addition is the ability to change track assignments from in the timeline. So if I right click on one of the tracks and click on track output assignments, I have this new dialog for what tracks I want to go to. So if I right click on track 3, I'll make sure that's going to 3 and 4, and I'll make sure on 4 that is doing the same, track 3 and 4. Hit OK. Of course, I need to make sure my pans are correct. If this was, say, a 5:1 workflow, I would need to go into my window audio track mixer and make sure my pans are correct, which I already set those up to -100 and 100. We'll do another movie on this audio workflow in the future, so no worries there. So let's move on to the next new feature, and that's a really simple one. And you'll notice if I hit M, I just made a clip marker. So what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is I can actually see my clip marker even though my track is collapsed. You used to have to expand your tracks like that to be able to see clip markers, and not so anymore. So I think that's a really nice tiny little feature that helps usability in terms of editing. Another quick little thing I'm going to do is come in here, and if I right click and go to my frame hold options, you'll notice there's a new option for source timecode instead of using sequence timecode like it used to. And this actually makes a lot more sense. It's going to use the timecode based on where you are in your clip. And hit OK, and now I have a still frame there. I had actually already done it to this clip as well, so you can see how it works. Another little simple enhancement is if I right click and I come in here and I go to render and replace, the big difference is I can now increase my handles in both the render and replace and the project manager to 999 frames, where it used to be limited to 99. So that's another nice little tweak they changed there. Another enhancement is if I come over here and I click on my layer, I want to move the anchor point. So the way I used to do it was to move the anchor point and then have to reposition the layer. But now it works more like the pan behind tool in After Effects. So if I drag it, you'll notice the visual position of the layer isn't moving. If I hold Command, I can actually snap to edges like this point right here, or the center point, for instance. And again, you'll notice the layer is not moving, so I could quickly move that anchor point. If I come into the Motion tab, you'll see what's actually happening is it's moving the anchor point and the position to compensate. Now, if you like the old way of doing things, and I'm not sure why you would, you can actually hold down Option and it'll behave the way it used to. But for me, I much prefer the new method, so I'm going to reset everything. And this way, I'm just going to hit Command to get it to snap, and you can see I could quickly move that anchor point. Another quick little feature is the ability to hide items in your project panel. If I expand my project panel, you'll notice there's a new column called Hide. And if I click on something, well, nothing happens at first because I don't have an option checked. If I right click in here and I check on View Hidden, now those things disappear. So this is helpful if you just want to simplify your project. Maybe I want to hide this bin and it's gone. I can always get it back, of course, by clicking on View Hidden, and there everything is again. It's not a feature I see myself using a ton, but I can see how it would be really helpful if you're using a ton of media in your projects and you just need to simplify sometimes. And another huge feature that I've saved for last is the Morph Cut. The typical scenario where you'd use this is if you're cutting an interview and you have a portion where you have to cut out, say a word that someone fumbled or a like or an and you don't have the B-roll to cover it. Well, in this example, if I play through that, just cutting out a gap, you'll notice there's this awkward shift. And this is made worse by the fact that it's a moving camera. Obviously, it would be better if I had a static camera. But if I apply the new Morph Cut transition, it will greatly smooth it out. And you can see there's still some artifacts in there, but again, this is a moving camera. So if I had a static camera, this would really go a long way to let me get away with that sort of jump cut that people would normally notice. So anyway, here is just a quick sample of some of the new features coming to Premiere. We intend to do a deep dive into those new features in the upcoming weeks, but I hope you enjoyed this little demo of some of those new features coming your way shortly. Be sure to check out our new product, Color Retooled, which is a set of looks presets for Premiere Pro CC, a ton of easy presets that you can use in Premiere and SpeedGrade CC to quickly edit the look of your clips. Everything from brightness and contrast to vintage effects, to things like vignettes that editors can quickly add to their clips and keep working. Also check out Relink Retooled, our conform tool for Premiere and Final Cut that will let you conform to your QuickTime media of different durations and file names than your original media. You can use it with combinations of tape name, file name, and of course you could use partial tape name and file name combined with metadata like timecode and frame rate to help you relink your clips quicker and easier than ever before.